And welcome to another episode of K9 Legends and Trailblazers. Today, I'm blessed to have retired TSA K9 trainer, instructor, supervisor Ruben Pena, who just recently retired after 36 years in the K9 community. Hey, good morning, Ruben.
Morning. How are you, Joe?
I'm good, sir. I'm good, sir. Thank you for joining me, man. It's an honor. I really appreciate you. Um, you're always been a legend to me since the first day I met you. I knew there was something special about you and K9. But I wanna let you tell your story today. So if you could, I know you started your K9 career in about 1989. So if you could walk us through how Ruben got started, we'd appreciate it.
All right. I just kind of started off. Me getting into canine was kind of accidental. I was pursuing a commercial art degree, and I was doing part-time work and odds and end jobs, just paying for college. And then all of a sudden, uh, you get into lab work, and as the lab work started getting expensive, uh, I said, okay, well, maybe I need to find another job, and I'll look at this a little later. And just so happened I was walking down through San Antonio Community College and I saw a recruiter poster. So I went to first recruiter offices I could find. I looked at the Marine Corps first, but I didn't do very well on mechanics and electronic. I scored pretty low, so they told me I would pretty much just be infantry. And
Right.
back then there were quite a bit of height requirements at the time. So uh, I told the Marine recruiter, I'll be back. I'll think about it. And then I walked down. I saw the Army recruiting office, the Navy recruiting office, and neither one of those got my attention. So I took a look at the Air Force recruiting office, and I said, "All right, I'll give it a shot." So I walked in, ended up joining the Air Force, went open general, and next thing you know, I was in basic training. Midway through basic training, I went on a detail, and some civilian contractors picked us up. We picked up concrete, wheelbarrows, shovels, spades, and we left Lackland. We drove to Medina Air Base, or yeah, Medina Air Base at the time, and started driving back to the middle of it. And I started hearing dogs barking,
Yeah.
and I kept hearing a lot more dogs. And I was like, "Where are dogs come from?" And I didn't know anything about canine, nothing. And turned out my detail was to make a sidewalk right there behind the vet clinic at the
Okay.
Medina kennels. And so that sidewalk's still there. I get a little smile every time I see it. Uh, and then just by chance, I ran into an officer by the name of Major Griffin, and I asked him, "Sir, how do you get into canine?" And he said, "Well," he goes, "if you did open general," he goes, "you'll have to click security." And fast forward about 2 weeks, 4 weeks later, part of the sequence for open general is if you were open general, they put you in a room, they give you a list of possible job openings for the Air Force needs.
Right.
And my luck, there was law enforcement, security, and they had firemen. Everything else I wasn't interested in. So I put security first, law enforcement second, firemen uh, third. Didn't really have anything for the other ones. And just by chance, I got lucky and I went law enforcement. I
Right.
was a little worried about it because the major had said security.
Right.
But turned out at the time, I guess things changed, and that led me into law enforcement tech school. Then there was a canine demo, and I went right into. I volunteered. They asked for volunteers to try out. There were 50 of us that tried out. 8 of us were selected. I was number 8,
Nice.
and then the rest was history. But I forgot about commercial art. Canine was that new job. They said when you find it, stay with it,
Yeah.
and that's how my canine career started.
Yeah, and that's true what you say there, man. Like since I went K9, I've never felt like I worked a day in my life, to be honest, right? Like I tell people all the time it's a lifestyle. It's not a job. But so let's walk through K9 school a little bit. So at that time, was it a block one, block two, or was it just patrol only at that time?
Yeah, so back then it was just patrol only, and so you just went through patrol dog school. Once you
Yeah.
went through patrol dog school, towards the end, you were given your next set of orders. when I graduated, I was told I was going to Lakenheath, England,
Okay.
and I got a little excited about that because then at that time they weren't taking American dogs in England, so you had to work British dogs.
Gotcha.
So you would have to go through the Royal Canine School, Royal Air
Oh,
Force
yeah.
Canine School.
Yeah.
Um, so that was the direction I was supposed to go.
Right.
And then prior to me uh, getting my tickets, my orders were redlined. And during that time, there was a situation where the military dog school was behind in the meal strips. And somebody came up with the idea that they were just going to pull Air Force uh, recent canine graduates straight out of the patrol dog school,
Okay.
tech school. And so they took 50 of us. We were called the Surge, and they put us straight into DTS.
Oh, wow. Was
And
real quick, was Jacobin a part of that?
I believe Jackman came later.
Yeah, he seemed to have kind of that same story of going
Yeah.
directly from, and I'd never seen that before. I saw it once with Navy during my
Mhm.
time at DTS, but never saw it again. But Ruben, if you don't mind, I'm gonna back up to your patrol dog school. So was that a time where you were basically still training a sentry dog, or were there was it patrol as we have it today, but just patrol dogs?
So I was a tail end of like I was 89, so I was tail end. So if there were any sentry dogs left or anything similar to that, they were already out in Europe or
Yeah,
Southeast Asia. And when I came in, we had pretty much already transitioned to your normal patrol dog.
your law enforcement patrol type of dog. Yeah.
Yeah, you
Do
had a
you
standoff.
Yeah. Do you remember any of your instructors' names?
I had Tech Sergeant Billy Ross,
Okay.
um, uh, an Army Sergeant, Staff Sergeant Hennessy,
Uh-huh.
and I also had an Army Sergeant Comiles
Yeah. And so definitely those guys had been somewhat involved in sentry dogs at some point in their career.
at some point. Yes,
Yeah, yeah, cool. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. I always like to remind myself of where we've been and where we've come to. But so, okay, so what a great opportunity, maybe whether you didn't know it or not, of going straight from the schoolhouse right over to the 341st. And that starts basically the foundation of your training career, right?
yes, sir. Um, the unique thing about that too is it's a privilege, it's a gift. At the same time, when you go into the operational world, you have operations and you have a schoolhouse.
Yeah,
And so when you go to the operational world's not always accepting to someone who went schoolhouse first.
right. I can understand.
Uh, but for me, it was a privilege and a gift because going through the dog school first before I went to operations, so I was there for about 3.5 years.
Wow.
I learned a lot about behavior. I
Yeah,
learned a lot about trial and error. Back then, we didn't have all the like. I think the newer generation canine in the military have a much better educational foundation to training
yeah,
and what it is to use positive reinforcement and things like that. Back then, it was more about reading behavior, learning how to manipulate your environment, manipulating your reward, uh, the rewards you had available to use. There's a lot of trial and error. So you tried this, it didn't work. Okay, well, let's tweak it a little bit. Let's try this. Oh, dog's performing well. Let's stay on that path until
yeah,
we need to make the next adjustment. Um, so when I went out to operations, uh, I had a lot to learn in utilization. Uh, and then I learned to make some adjustments to what I might have believed was perfect or ideal training concepts because you have a schoolhouse training mindset
right.
and then you have an operational training mindset. Those two are going to be different just because of the context of what you're doing.
Right. And you're still learning how to be a cop. I mean, yeah.
Exactly.
So where did you go from there, Ruben? What was your
Uh,
first assignment?
Another privilege. I always consider everything I've ever done in the canine world uh, a gift and a privilege.
Yeah.
Always a learning opportunity. It's always what you make of it.
Yeah.
Uh, I went to Korea.
Oh,
Went to
great.
Osan Air Base,
Okay.
and and uh, for me, I always say this. I got an opportunity to watch the Forrest Gump movie,
Yeah,
and as I was watching Forrest Gump, I always tell people my entire canine career
it was a
went
Forrest
very
Gump
much
moment.
like a Forrest Gump movie. Uh, Bosses told me where to go. I
I'm
went,
gone. Yeah.
and I had successes, I had failures, but at the end, it always worked out for the best.
All right. So you go to Korea. In Korea, Osan is the bigger of the two bases in Korea, right? Osan, Kusan, Osan's bigger. That's a pretty large kennel to be a part of. And I know from I did a little time in Kunsan, but I know Osan, that's a lot of patrol work for the dogs, right? A lot of perimeters, a lot of working on the outside as well. Maybe a little bit of that century mentality still hung over there, you know.
Yeah,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, we called it the hump.
The hump.
Um,
Yeah.
and again, another enjoyable experience. It got cold down there, as you know,
Yeah.
during the winters.
Yeah.
Uh, but the way it basically was is we loaded up in deuce and a halves, and they and you just had a straight patrol dog when you first got there.
Yeah.
There weren't that many detector dogs that usually went to people with rank,
Right.
or if you had been there longer than anybody else, and maybe you were not the highest ranking, but you got a dog in
Yeah.
between the mix of rotations.
So you're hopping
Um,
on a deuce and a half, you and how many other dog teams?
so they would load up like we had the whole perimeter, and we also had uh, compounds that had uh, maybe chemical barrels. We don't know.
Right.
We had ammo dumps,
Right.
and so you basically, if you were put on the outside perimeter fence along the airstrip, so they just drop you off on a perimeter road, and then you'd go through an opening or a gate through the perimeter fence that was already there
Yeah.
amongst the bunkers that are already lined up,
Yeah.
and then you just basically patrolled a specific number of
Like
meters, I
sectors.
guess,
Yeah.
or a section. And
Yeah.
you had another canine guy working his section.
Right.
You were working your section. You were on that section. Um, and when you're out there, you're just out there with the elements,
Yeah.
and you're just on patrol, and you're just waiting to potentially catch something that's out of the ordinary, or something that maybe it is a threat. And now you got to do a salute report
Right.
and let them know so they can bring back a response team.
Let me see if I
Um,
still remember salute. Size, activity, location, uniform, time, equipment.
exactly.
That's it?
Yes, sir. Um,
That's crazy how it gets ingrained in your head, right?
yeah. But I used to enjoy a lot of you'd meet the fishermen oddities out there
Yeah.
on the river outside Osan,
Yeah.
and we trade them MREs and eat some nice hot ramen noodle soup with
Yeah.
them.
Yeah,
And
man. That's
but
so cool, Ruben. It sounds like a great experience. A lot of people don't embrace the suck, right?
yeah,
But some of us do, and I can appreciate that, right? So
yeah.
so you spend a 1 year, right? 1 year remote in Osan, or did you stay? You stay longer?
I did 1 year remote, and then that was in 91, 92, and then in 94, 95, I went back again.
You went back again. Where'd you go
Yeah.
in between Korea?
Uh, didn't do a lot of traveling. I went uh, the first time I went back to base police.
Yeah.
And so I was at base police at Lackland,
Yeah. Okay.
and then I went back out to Korea, and then I ended in McCord Air Base.
Okay. So you go back to Osan the second time. You've been in a little while by then, so you're probably E4 by now, maybe a buck sergeant. I don't know. What uh what was different? Like, did you take on more responsibilities other than just being a handler? Did you end up being a trainer or a kennel master? Soup? What?
I ended up being a squad leader,
Okay.
and uh, and then you got a squad of 10 to 12 personnel, and then you're the guy, and of course you're either a bomb dog guy or a drug dog guy
Right.
uh, with a dual purpose dog, and then but your responsibility is to uh, go to guard mount, load everybody up on your. And back then we were driving bread bu- bread box trucks with
Yeah.
little Kojak lights.
Yep.
And so
Yep.
if we ever did a traffic stop, we were just pulling people over in a bread box with the
That's funny.
red traffic Kojak light. But we had 12 people there, so our job, you always had trainers. but if your trainers weren't available and you as a squad leader, you had your law enforcement duties, your posting duties, but then you also went out to work on detection maintenance or you worked on uh, patrol slash live scenario or training scenarios uh, with your teams.
So from that second tour at Osan Air Base, did you separate from there or did you separate after coming back to the States
I
or
separated after I came back from McCord.
from McCord? Was that
Yep. Yes.
Washington State?
Yep.
No.
Yep. Right next to Fort Lewis.
So you go out there, what's your job out there at McCord? You
I went to McCord and I became the trainer.
the trainer? Yeah.
Yep. And
So that was what, 1995,
yep,
1996?
95.
95. So in 1996, you make a decision, all right, and you separate from the Air Force, and you get picked up by a company called Global Training Academy, all right.
Yes.
And I know just from speaking to you in the past, you've had a lot of different missions while assigned to Global Training Academy. So just kind of walk me through Global and how that was and some of the places you went and some of the missions.
All right. Um, I like to keep this thing fun. So
Yeah,
when I left the military, uh, we're looking at what do I want to do? And for me, my passion was always animals. The
yeah,
commercial art thing, I already forgot about that.
right,
So I just wanted to work with animals. So I applied to the San Antonio Zoo, um, and then I applied to Global Training Academy. There was only two places that I found prior to leaving McCord
right,
that I might have an interest in.
right.
And when I went to Global Training Academy the first time, the owner told me they didn't have any positions. And I said, well, that didn't work out too well. Then and then uh, I had a phone call from a Kirby Police Department
Okay.
that came on the answering machines. You know those boxes, and they would show numbers. And you had your phone calls
Yeah,
back in the
yeah,
day.
yeah. The blinking
So I saw,
button, right? The blinking
yes,
button. Yeah.
yeah. So I went to click that, and then there were two calls. One was Kirby, and they were back then. You came out of the military, you didn't have to go to academy, anything. They just took you with your military
Yeah.
career, and you started your on the job training with them.
Yeah.
And they were going to offer me $8 an hour,
Oh,
and then I clicked the next one. It was San Antonio Zoo, and they had told me I had an interview, and I applied to be a zookeeper. I wanted to either be a zookeeper with gorillas, a zookeeper
yeah,
with wolves,
yeah.
any kind of canine animal. And they called me up. I went to the interview. Back then, the military had a really bad reputation uh, in how we handled or trained dogs.
Right,
A lot of people thought we were very compulsive
right,
slash avoidance based and very abusive to animals. Um, and so the interview didn't go very well. And I literally asked the lady, I said, did you call me in just to tell me why you're not going to hire me?
right,
Or is this an interview? And she said, well, it's really not an interview. She goes,
right.
but I do have another job for you. Uh, and she goes, go down the office. And it ended up being an offer for the head of security at the San Antonio Zoo.
Okay,
And that was going to be $7.30 an hour
okay.
plus a golf cart. And
Plus,
I was gonna lead the San Antonio Zoo. So I started thinking with little bubbles in my head about,
right,
man, my own golf cart,
right,
sodas, cotton candy, popcorn. I get to
right,
see the animals. This could be
right,
cool.
right,
Um, and so I said, okay, give me a day or two, and I'll call you back if I'm interested. And I
right.
went home, and then there was a blinking light again on that box, and I clicked it, and it was Global. And Global asked me to come back, and there was another uh, trainer there that heard I had stopped by, and he
Yeah,
told them that I should get hired. And
right.
so they called me back and they said, we'll give you $7 an hour.
Yeah.
So I had a big dilemma. I was getting all this money thrown at me, a golf cart, and I mean, I was like, man, I, I'm really important.
Right.
I sat there and I thought about it. And the one that made me the most happiest was the idea of, and you know what I'm talking about, when you're out there in the woods at the dog training school at Lackland,
Yeah.
working dogs out there in the elements. And I'm like, well, that's global.
Yeah.
Global's just a big wooded area. I'll be out there with the dogs. I'll be doing exactly what I fell in love with.
Right.
So I took the global job.
Yep.
Um, with that, it ended up being one of the best personal research laboratories I've ever had the opportunity to work in, because the owners hired you for what you understood,
Right.
which was back then just 1980s, 90s dog training concepts.
Right.
And so they didn't really put you through any kind of training. They just said, you're a dog trainer.
Make
We
it
need you
happen.
to do what you know how to do. And
Right.
so we would get these clients, and the clients would say, we want a drug dog and we want it in this many weeks. We
Yeah.
want a bomb dog. We want a dual purpose dog. Or they would say, we're looking for a landmine dog. Or we're looking for something else. And then you had to sit there and take on X number of dogs. Sometimes it was 6 dogs. As you progressively got better, the owner might put you with 20 and 30 dogs. And
Wow.
that was depending on the manpower because it's a private company.
Right.
You only earn what you make.
Right.
And what that gave me was an opportunity to uh, apply the knowledge and skills that I had. And then the best critic out there is your dog.
Yeah.
If it works, they show
Look
you it
good.
works. If it
Yeah.
doesn't work, they go, "Yeah, man, you need to try something else." Or, "You
Right.
sure you know how to do this job?"
Right.
And
Right.
uh, and so the dogs make you go back and you think about it all at night, and you problem solve in your head,
Yep.
and you come up with things you're going to try the next day. And that's what uh, Global gave me the opportunity to do. That, that there were times where it might have been fast paced, and other times it was a perfect pace for me to just learn and absorb
Right.
knowledge and information.
What a better way to learning K9 by trial and error, right? And that's just part of it, right? Repetitions, right? The more repetitions you get, the more ideas you get, the more toolbox you get. But yeah, please continue, man. Thanks for highlighting that.
Yeah. Um, yeah, you'll be out in the woods, and you knew what the clients want, you knew what the timelines were, uh, and you try to come up with the most clearest possible training plan for that dog to learn so you could move things quickly and meet your deadlines and your timelines.
Yeah,
But not every dog fits your training plan.
yeah,
And I always like to say, train the dog in front of you.
yes,
Um, doesn't matter about the first dog, the second dog, the seventh dog, the 10th dog. Every dog, no matter what training problem you run, the environment controls it.
right,
Um, you only control a small portion of it.
right,
And so, and then of course you have the genetics of the dog, and then you have uh, how does that dog learn? Uh, what motivates this dog versus that dog?
right.
And so each individual dog uh, causes you to make adjustments on the fly. And
Yeah,
that's the other thing is being able to read behavior and then understand immediately how do I fix this or how do I make this more clear for this dog?
right,
The last 3 dogs were good. This
right.
dog not so much. And
Yeah,
then this is where I learned. I consider myself an average trainer at best. Um, the way I look at it is, if you're a legend, if you're a guru, if you're anything, that's up to the people around you.
that's right.
You yourself, that's not your job.
Right.
If you're good, your peers and other people that meet you and see what you do, they'll give you the compliments.
That's right.
Um, your dogs, they're gonna give
They're
they're
gonna
gonna
give
give
you
you
the
the praise.
compliment. Yeah.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
gonna
Proof
say,
is
"Hey
in the
man,
pudding. Yeah.
yeah, where's that resignation letter?" But
Yeah.
um, one thing I learned a long time ago is just the same as if you were being a cop. The best way to be a cop is learn how to be the best criminal
Right.
and or know your enemy. And
Right.
so for me, uh, I got into patrol for a while, but patrol never really grabbed my attention or my heart.
Right.
Detection is what really. I think I was 26 when I decided my whole focus would be nothing but detection.
Right.
And what I learned in detection early on was to be a good trainer, you need to understand behavior. You need to understand how the environment affects odor and how it travels.
Right.
And then how does odor itself work?
Yeah.
What makes odor move the way it moves?
Right.
Of course, it's the environment. Of course, it's the chemical compound, the volatility rate of it, all these different things that all have to apply. But you have to take all those pieces together. And when you understand how they all work, then when it comes time to training the dog in front of you, you have multiple tools to grab from
Yep.
to set a path of clear communication, to put an effective training plan for the dog in front of you
Right.
versus just, hey, dog, I need you to follow these steps because
Right.
these are the steps I
It's the
know,
only
and
way
this
I
is what
know.
works.
Yeah, this is the only steps I know.
Yeah,
So you got to follow this. No, you're
exactly.
100% right, man. That's a great point, Ruben. And you know, I will call you a legend because I think you are a legend. And what's kind of unique, man, is like probably about I've done about 8 or 10 interviews now, and about 4 or 5 of y'all say the same thing, train the dog in front of you. And it's so true, man. It's so true. So thanks again for highlighting that, man. And you know, that'd be advice that I'd give anybody in dog training. Just train the dog in front of you. Yep, we might have seen 1,000 dogs come through our hand over our career. But there's nothing like that one dog that's sitting right there in front of you that is waiting for you to guide them through training to get them successful. But yeah, thank you, man.
Yes.
Appreciate it. Yep.
Yeah. And and uh and for global, the bosses had, I mean, when you're running a business, you're trying to bring in clients, you're trying to
Yep.
handle contracts. There's all these other things that are pretty consuming.
Right.
And so when they hire a trainer, that's what they need you to do. Step
Right.
up and be a trainer and do what you can. And
Right.
then from time to time, you have your other peers around you. And if you run into a problem, you can't fix it, then you go to the guy that you believe is good at a certain thing.
Right.
No, like I always say, have a Rolodex of other trainers
Yep.
that you know you can talk to, and maybe their ego isn't. Again, unfortunately, there's egos everywhere,
Right.
uh, and maybe your personalities don't work. But you should always know which ones you can go to for specifics, because not everybody's good at one thing
Right.
or good at everything,
Right.
but they may be really strong in certain things and weaker in others. So you just have to have kind of a Rolodex of through the years who you picked up as your go-to people to gain information from.
Yeah, your core network of trainers, man. That's always good to keep.
Yeah. And but for global, I got a wealth of experience with domestic law enforcement. I got awesome opportunity to go to multiple different countries and work in uh, uh, combat or high security zones,
Yeah.
um, working in third world countries. One of the best things I thought about working with landmine dogs was, there you are, you're this trainer, and you're supposed to be good, and you're going out there, and you're gonna when you go to this country, you're the guru, and they give you all the respect in the world. And I had a Canadian program manager. He said, Ruben, he goes, most of third world countries, when you arrive, you have 100 points, and
Yeah.
he goes, it's your job to keep that 100 points.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
he goes, how do you work? What's your are you on time all the time? What you say is honest and you back it up,
Right.
and how do you present yourself, and what does your work show for itself? And with landmine dogs, if you really thought you're all that, working a landmine, training up handlers to work landmine dogs, and then supervising them in the field and live operations,
Right.
you find out if your work's good or not.
Yeah. Real
And
quick.
um, and you also find, okay, maybe it's not that good because you had a miss, or you had a near miss, or you had something happen, and you're like,
Right.
okay, that was too close for comfort. Let me review how I train, and why did that happen? And then when those things happen, then you start going into research. Uh, and this is the other place where you learn more about odor and how does it work, and how does the environment affect it, and things like that.
Right.
And so I'd say for global, with all the different researches with chemicals, bio, insects, currency, they gave me the greatest opportunity ever, um, to just learn about detection.
Right.
And that was my passion. And so it ended up being the best decision I ever made to take that over a golf cart and $7.30 an hour. be a
hanging out
cop
with
for 8 bucks.
yeah, you didn't want to hang out with Coco the monkey, man. So but that one thing about what you're telling me, man, and there's a couple key words that keep coming up in my head is diversifying, man. Like you had the opportunity to work so many different kinds of dogs. Like a lot of us in our careers, you know, for me specifically, it was pretty much when it comes to detection, narcotics, explosives, and I dealt with a little bit of firearms and cell phones and some things like that. But to go from a narcotics dog this month to next working a mine dog, which is really intense. I've done I've studied a lot about mine dogs and how precise that training is and that handling and the lines that the dog has to make and the handler has to make and make that determination. And where you were going, if I remember correctly, the places that was active with landmines everywhere. That was something wasn't unheard of for you guys to get fines on a regular basis over there. So
Yes.
that's really cool. And I think for you, yeah, like you said, all it did was increase your understanding of dog training because you're having to do it with so many different types of dogs, so many different training those dogs on so many different types and nationalities and perspectives, meaning, the UK may have a different perspective than they have in Thailand, on how to work dogs and what their need is. So that's really cool. So global, you spent almost you spent a little over 6 years there. No, a little bit longer than that, almost 14 years.
Yes, sir.
Um, 14 years there. And then I think this is when I first met you, is after this. I think from there how'd you get over to the 341st as a DoD civilian?
So 9/11 had already kicked off, and that kind of forced the canine world as we know it to grow extremely fast.
Yes.
And you had canine companies just coming out of the woodwork, and then you had large companies, conglomerates that decided, man, we're going to buy the mom and pop canine, and we're going to get bigger contracts. And then it got to the point where the smaller companies couldn't compete anymore,
Right.
and they started to fade out, and uh, and some actually closed, and then some have been able to work through it, and they're still here. Um, but at that time, uh, global was kind of on its down end. It was going down. It was peak was up in the early 2000s, but then towards 2005, things kind of started changing, and the boss one time, all the employees one day, we were sitting in front of the office, and we're like, well, what happens if you close? And he had something very simple to say. He said, well, he goes, I've been saving money. I have my retirement. If I close, you guys just find a new job.
Right.
And the funny thing is we all looked at him like, how dare you say that?
Right. Right.
Because we've
But
been,
yeah.
I mean, bottom line, it's true. We had
Yeah.
been pretty loyal to him. But at the end of the day, it's a private company. If
Right.
they close, and there are no retirements in private company, you're responsible for that on yourself.
Yeah.
So my initial reaction was, man, that's not cool. And then I had a moment of, well, he's right. And and so I looked at my life and I said, man, I had this 8.5 years in the military. Um, I could go back into the federal system
Right.
and make that 8 years count
Right.
versus what I've been doing for 14 years. It hasn't. And so then uh, some friends of mine told me about contract opportunity at Lackland to train dogs with the 341st, and and I guess that would be the one moment it wasn't like a Forrest Gump situation in a movie where
Right.
I just went where the boss told me. This
Right.
is where a situation where I realized it was time to just make a change. So I
Yeah.
applied, and luckily Mike Clemison from Hill Country Dog Center and Doc Hilliard was working at the 341st, or he was in charge of DTS at the
Right.
time.
Hmm.
Uh, Mike Clemison was a reference, and that's how I got into the 341st as a contractor.
Nice. Yeah, I remember. There was a pretty big group of us that came as civilians because I had ETS 08, 09, don't remember exactly, but yeah, you, myself, I think Dave Santos, Doug Bonar, there were a few of us, maybe 10 or 12 of us. But yeah, so that portion, you're going back to where you started. You're going back to where you started, going back to training detection dogs and patrol dogs. Um, so that makeup is a little different. For those of you that don't know, 341st DTS, Dog Training Squadron, and I've heard they've changed the name, but I'm just going to call it Dog Training Squadron. That's where all the green dogs for DoD, Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marines, they all get their training there, their initial training. They go through detection, whether it be narcotics or explosives, and they go through patrol training. And once they finish that training, that patrol training, they get certified at Lackland through an evaluation section, and then they push out to the field, meaning to whatever Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps base has a need, right? And then that dog is paired up with a new handler, essentially. But so yeah, back to the grind, working out at the pit, catching dogs, having fun. I remember it was a really good time. I remember you, a very specific story. We had this. I think it was me, you, Scott Sheridan, Jason Law, a couple of others. We have the hot.
Delancey,
What was the other one? Delancey.
Delancey.
Yes, 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 Josh. And we had the Hot Sauce Club, and these guys were getting like these 1 million, 2 million Schofield little bottles of hot sauce, and you had to dip, you had to dip a piece of meat or something in eating. And we were talking about the pit, and Ruben's like, "Man, bring me that hot sauce." So Ruben's got his sandwich. He opens his egg sandwich up or something like that. And he takes it and he's splashing it. Bloosh. And I'm like, oh my God, because one little drop literally killed me at the building. I'm like, this is gonna be terrible. So Ruben takes a big old bite of the sandwich and he's chewing it, looking around, and then from there, all you see is sweat start coming. And I think you actually sat down. Maybe I'm embellishing there, but I feel like that was just very overwhelming. So finish it up for me. Finish the story for me.
Yeah, it was pretty overwhelming. Luckily, the bacon and the bread made it a little bit easier to take.
Yeah.
But yeah, it did put me on my butt.
Yeah.
Um, uh, I probably lost 2 pounds because the body overheats pretty quick.
Yeah.
Needless to say, I didn't try anymore.
Yeah, man, I saw it splashing off your sandwich. I was like, this is not gonna be good. But yeah, so fast forward, you're over there. Doc was running the DTS. It was a good time. It was really like almost like a reunion. I came back into DOD, so did you. You're meeting a lot of new people because, a lot of these people weren't your generation, they were my generation and Santos's generation. And
Yeah.
so yeah, man, you get on some teams, start working, maneuvering dogs, getting them certified again, uh, working through that. And what's the take from that, man? Like what did you enjoy most about that? What are you picking up now?
So for me, it was one of those. There's a moment where it didn't kind of go like a Forrest Gump movie.
Right.
Uh, Normally, I just went where the boss told me to go, and in this case, the boss just said, "Hey, if we shut down, we're going to shut down. Um, you guys are on your own. Figure it out." And uh, and now they never did shut down, but just after he said that, it made me start thinking about it. So I looked at. I had 8 years of military, and I said, "Well, I could always go back in the federal system and make that 8 years count."
Right.
And so luckily, uh, Mike Clemison from Hill Country Dog Center, um, I let him know I was going to be looking for outside work somewhere else. And I think he's the one who mentioned it to me. And him and Doc Hilliard, pretty good friends. They've done some collaborative work together. And so I applied, and luckily I got picked up. I was excited about it. At the same time, I was pretty scared about going back. I
Yeah.
said, reason for that is my canine career, as far as I know, had been going pretty well. Um, I felt like I had learned a lot, uh, but at the same time, you're going back to for canine, it would be one of the meccas.
Yeah.
You have the Lackland Dog School. Uh, then, of course, you have the TSA Dog School on there now,
Right.
which makes it even a bigger mecca.
Right.
And then surrounding San Antonio, because of the dog schools,
Right.
you have how many private companies,
Right.
how many board and train, how
Hundreds.
many, you have all kinds of them. And so, where do you fall in that universe of a canine mecca?
Right.
And what have you become? Because now you're going back to the schoolhouse where people are just starting their career,
Mhm.
and where others have moved on into their next level of canine. And
Right.
where do you fall?
Right.
And uh, but because of the situation, whether or not I was scared or hesitant, I showed up on the day I was told to show up.
Right.
And and then the other thing I thought was unique about going back in there was this is also a time where people are coming back from downrange,
Yeah.
and out of respect, I don't really care what my career was. It doesn't matter how long I've been in it. Um, I'm going back to a new place. I don't know if it's the same. And then on top of that, I may be working with some people that just came back from some pretty rough stuff.
Yeah.
And uh, and so I remember telling myself, I'm like, okay, come in here with an open mind, do your best, and by all means be as respectful as possible.
Right.
Uh, because again, uh, if somebody went and worked down range, they deserve that respect.
Oh yeah. I mean, it was surrounded by war fighters, you know. That
Yeah.
was the time. You're exactly right. 9/11 was 8 to 9 years old. Iraq was in full swing a couple times. Afghanistan was in full swing. So you're absolutely right. You're surrounded by modern day heroes that went out and did the job for real, and now have rotated back to give back, right? To teach
Yes.
dogs, to teach students. So yeah, please continue.
Yeah. So when I went back, uh, detection, it wasn't the 1980 version of detection that I learned
Yeah,
back in the 80s. Um, but at the same time, uh, through all of my years of experience on the detection side of things, there were some minor uh, differences with how what they called DFR back then were done compared to what I had learned through the Mind Dog program 10 years earlier,
yeah,
which we just called Focus Dog.
right,
Um, so detection, I didn't feel too off base.
right.
Where I felt off base, where I felt like I was a caveman, was on the patrol dog side.
And
Um,
why is that? Why did you feel like a caveman?
because I didn't know anything about, um, uh, like I didn't know a lot about positive reinforcement. Uh, in the 80s, we did food reward, but not to the extent
Right.
of what was being taught at DTS in 2010 when I showed up. And I
Right.
think this started maybe early 2005 also,
Yeah.
where it was more positive reinforcement, reward based. In the 80s, we all I had to use for
Awesome.
reward
Mm.
was on patrol side was a bite or praise.
Yeah.
There were no toys, there were no food.
Right.
Um, in detection, we used food, but the only way we used food was dog put his nose in the hole. I told him to sit, and then I gave him a piece of food.
Right.
I didn't. We didn't use it in the context of luring and
Right.
shaping behavior.
Right.
We we physically shaped behavior, and then we rewarded the dog.
Yep. 100%.
Um, so one, my head wasn't on task for it yet, and at the same time, my mechanics were not the same.
Yeah.
And then at the other side of the coin, in my head, physically, I was still moving the way I was when I was young.
Right.
However,
Comma.
comma,
Yeah.
I also gained 100 something pounds more. So I
Yeah.
had a lot more real estate. In my head, I'm reading behavior, I'm moving a certain way. My
Right.
timing and what I'm reading is correct in my head,
Right.
but my body movements are not the same.
Yeah.
I need to read four more steps ahead in order to move the rest of the real estate.
Yeah. Yeah. I understand, man. I
And
understand.
so um, I found myself a student on the
Yeah.
patrol side, and I had my struggles in the very beginning, and I was on Bonar's team,
Doug.
and
Yeah.
Bonar pulled some hair out, got a few wrinkles from me.
Yeah.
Uh, but he worked with me, and sooner or later, and Josh Delancey
Yeah.
was very compassionate, and uh, he stepped pulled me off the side a few times and helped me understand things a little bit better. And then I also had Rene Torres, another really good
Yep.
trainer. He's out of Hill Country now.
Yep.
Uh, he would pull me off the side and work with me. Um, and it was nice that they took that time to help me make adjustments.
Yeah.
Uh, but I was a little slow at it, and so I also went on the weekends. I found a Mondio Ring Club,
Yeah.
and I would go observe and practice different things with them, and just try to get better because here I am trying to work with these guys, but I'm behind the curve.
Yeah.
So any way I can learn outside of there or in there, I was gonna do that. On the
Yeah.
detection
What a
side,
I'm sorry, I mean to cut you
uh,
off. What a good cast of crew to help you with that. In my opinion, really, really good patrol dog trainers, right? Josh Delancey, Renee Torres, Doug Bonar. I mean, as far as people that could build a dog, right? Build a dog, build a patrol dog, it didn't get much better than that. So yeah, man, you were blessed again.
yes,
Yeah.
like I said, that's where the Forrest Gump came back in.
Yeah, yeah. All right, please continue, man. So I just wanted to highlight those guys a little bit because I have a lot of respect for them,
Yeah,
what they've done. And do you ever run into Renee?
Renee, I saw him just a few weeks ago over at
Tell,
Hill
tell him
Country.
I said hello, man.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Um, yep. Uh, and as you said, the you run into those certain people that they help you in your certain transitions. And I'd like to bring up a name of I kind of called him my father figure in Canine.
Yeah.
Uh, and that was back in '89 when I went to DTS from the tech school. And his name was he was a Marine sergeant named Sergeant Costalea, Mike
Oh,
Costalea.
okay.
And when I went there, uh, I always start out anything in an underdog mindset.
Yeah.
Um, and reason is I don't know if I'm good enough. I don't know if I'm going to be successful until I start doing it.
Right.
And then my confidence builds as I see the product.
Right.
So no matter how long I've been doing this, I always start from an underdog position. And so um, Costalea, I think he saw that in me. And so what he did with me was he basically put me on dogs that other people kind of broke, and he had me work on them. And then he gave me dogs in stages.
Right.
And that comes back to training the dog in front of you,
Right.
uh, and of course understanding it. Um, and and that mindset is what helped me get in through that transition when I went to DTS the second time.
Right.
Uh, but it was a little bit of a struggle because at the same time I expected more from myself uh, because I'd been doing canine for over 20 years by that time,
Right. I
and
understand.
and and here I am at the Mecca and I'm struggling
Yeah.
because the patrol dog side of things went, I'd say, a little bit more sport and a lot more intelligent dog training.
Yeah.
There were a lot of things I learned uh, in that 1 year about positive reinforcement and pre-shaping uh, and clickers and yes markers
Yeah.
that pushed me in the best direction I probably could before I went to TSA.
Yeah.
Because I was an old laptop that needed an upgrade,
Right.
and when in a lot of third world countries, and you're out there by yourself, the only things that are going to give you upgrade is your dogs
Yeah.
and the teams that you have in front of you.
Right.
But when I showed up to Lackland, it was like a perfect opportunity to go from Windows 1 to Windows 11.
No, that's a good analogy, man.
Yep.
But yeah, and that's one thing I tell people all the time, man, is that if you want to be one of the best trainers you can be, figure out a way if you're military to get to DTS. Figure out a way in TSA to get to CTC, right? Because you're only going to surround yourself with amazing trainers. You're going to get the reps. You're gonna get advice. You're gonna get bad advice, right? You're gonna run into those guys that are collecting a paycheck and that's all they want to do. But there's some really good people on both sides of that house that really just love doing what we do, right? Training dogs, training students, putting teams together, pushing out war fighters, pushing out federal service workers. And there's no better place in the world. The Mecca, you said it earlier. It's the Mecca. And if you can survive down there, if you can get a good 2, 3 years under your belt there and go back out to the field, whether it be military or federal service, what an asset you are, right? For that commander or that federal security director or any of those entities, those that command staff. And and I owe everything good in my life in K9 to both of those places because I've worked at both the 341st and the CTC because it just broadened opportunities for me. So now let's talk about that, man. Let's roll over. You came back to the 341st, and then, I think everybody's goal at that time that was on that contract for the 341st was it wasn't a permanent job, right? So we're trying to look for something permanent. And you had said earlier, I'd get my 8 years back. Uh, Let me finish out. Great opportunity opens up just across the street, right? So talk to me about that, about CTC.
Yeah. Um, well, luckily, I'd heard about the possible job openings on the CTC side. So I did exactly a year with the 341st. Um, I successfully became a somewhat average patrol dog trainer. And but by the time I left the 341st, uh, my peers thought I was very strong in detection.
Yeah,
And uh, and again, like I said, that was my passion since I was 26.
right,
Um, I didn't know if I was going to be able to do 341st another year. I felt that I probably wasn't good enough to stay there another year. Uh, and the question of whether or not there was going to be another contract to open
right,
up,
right,
that was a problem too. So I did apply for TSA, and luckily I got picked up.
right,
And uh, and then again went through the same thing. Now I'm going to go over to CTC, and
right.
now you have people that some were my instructors, some were my supervisors back in the 80s.
Yeah,
Uh, and then there's a whole other groups of there's different generations there
yeah,
that all came from Lackland.
yep,
And I always tell people every 5 years, I'd say from about early 2000s, the military's changed in that context where about every 5 years there's a new generation of an upgraded canine detection program or even their patrol. There's always some kind of involvement about every 5 years where this group of people for 5 years train this way, and then this
right,
group is slightly different, and this group is different again.
right,
Uh, I always tell people from the 60s to uh, early 2000s, if you were to look at all everybody taught and everybody that went through school around the same time, all of our training methods, all of our concepts were pretty much the same.
yeah,
There really wasn't no difference. But now the military kind of evolves every 5 years.
right,
And so going into CTC, I had the same hesitant feeling. I had the same,
yeah,
okay, am I going to survive here?
right,
Uh, what are we going to do? And then I went there, and at the time, they were a little bit more strict, and and you had to work a dog exactly the way they wanted you to.
right,
And at times, you didn't really feel like a trainer because it was pretty much a blocked process.
right.
And uh, and I had some frustrations. The way I would deal with that is I'd go home and drink 3 gallons of sweet tea. End up becoming a diabetic too.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
uh, but in the end, I had job security. I was moving my 8 years of military towards the federal system,
yeah,
towards a retirement, which was the overall plan anyway.
right,
Uh, and I got to do a lot of detection, which is what I prefer. And then the good thing for me coming out of the private sector is I can't always like if you ever ask me if I have my own training process, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't have any one way that I train dogs. Um, because my foundation, the way I learned how to train dogs was a DoD system. Then I went to private, and then private was determined upon the client
Right. Makes sense.
or determined upon the dogs that you got.
Right.
And so it comes back to training the dog in front of you.
Hmm.
So my training concepts are based on the
The
dog in
dog.
front of me
Yeah.
and whatever the owner or the client needs or the boss says.
Yep.
So making the adjustments to any program and how they want you to work a dog or train a dog. I can scratch my head a few times, try to figure it out, but it won't take me but a few weeks to adapt.
Yep.
And and then from that time forward, learning the mission, uh, being accepted into the TSA program, going to the different airports,
Right.
actually seeing, okay, this is why we're doing this at the schoolhouse because
Right.
this is what they're dealing with in the operation side. Oh, and here's that separation again where CTC mindset is for foundation and canine team building. And then when that team gets out there, now it's the operational need, the canine trainer out there with them and how they're going to advance them and grow them. And then you got to find that where do you fit in that gray area when you go leave Lackland to go work in the field with the trainers and
Right.
how do you assist them? Because at
Right.
the end of the day, that they're your client.
Yeah. And they always say, if you've been to one airport, you've been to one airport. And it's true, right? We I spent some time there with you as well. And, Chicago is a lot different than Birmingham, the operation, the need, what they're doing. Atlanta is very different than Jacksonville, so the way for you guys that don't know the way it's set up, all that initial training with the dogs happens at CTC. Student comes down, they get into a class, they get paired with a dog. They stay with that dog throughout the class, hopefully. They graduate and then they go to the field with that dog. A little bit different than the military because they are taking a dog with them when they leave the schoolhouse. And then that dog lives with them, and then they work that operation, whatever they have, whether it be Atlanta, Los Angeles, New Orleans, whatever. But to Ruben's point is every airport is different with the amount of operational work that every dog has to do. So yeah, and I think I don't want to fast forward at all, but so you get back over there and you get into that. And at that time, when you went back over there, Ruben, they were still separated, right? You had the training section, the instructor section, and the evaluator section.
Yes.
Yeah, and you were on the trainer section most of the time, or
Yeah, I was on
that's
the
where you
trainer
want to be.
section.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was on the trainer section for I think 12 years.
12 years until me and Pat Yeoman came back to school.
Yes.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and y'all ruined my life. No, I'm
We
joking.
run, we did, we did. And
Uh,
Pat's waiting for this interview to post. So yeah, so you work dogs. You didn't have to deal with students. You work dogs, get them from green to gold to be able to validate, right? That's the process, validate them, and then once they're validated, they go to schoolhouse. So let's fast forward to what was it, 2018? 2018, 2017, 2018, myself and Pat Yeoman were both regional K9 training instructors out in the field. So like if Ruben was coming out to help problem solve, we'd be his POC. If there was an issue that we couldn't work out, we'd reach back out to CTC and they'd be like, all right, hey, we're gonna send Ruben out to help you guys, look at this from our perspective. And we'd collaborate and work together and try to build that dog team up back to an operational status, right? So this was a little different. Pat Yeoman and I got plugged out of the operation to go TDY for 9 months. Um, and we were to build this program in collaboration with Ruben, Jason Law, Sean. Sean was with us too, right? T. Sean. I think that was it. I think that was it.
Lorenzo Cortez.
Lorenzo, that's right. I'm sorry, Lorenzo. Didn't mean to cut you out there. Um, we were to build this new process of passenger screening canines and how they would conduct their searches within that operational environment of that queue. For me, what an eye-opening experience that was, right? To come back there and to be given all this time to change this concept and rewrite it to what it is today. But let's fast forward to that. Start talking to me about how that, because that changed your perspective. Now you're going in, you're training dogs and students at this point.
Yeah. Um, so when we first started it on the trainer side, um, there were a lot of things that, like when I first got asked to look at the passenger screening canine,
Yeah,
um, I didn't even know what vapor wake was,
right.
and I was relatively new to TSA. Uh, Harold Little got me involved in it early on uh, because we had a conversation and he asked me about some of the things that I had done while I was working at Global. Where did I go? And along with that, in that conversation, I told him about the demining. I told him about bomb dog security work, and then I also told him I had some dealings with uh, training or operational projects involving suicide bombers.
Yeah,
And a lot of these were just ideas that host countries wanted to run by me because they liked the way I train dogs. And next thing you know, we were looking at how do I get a dog to detect uh,
right,
suicide bombers. And of course, back then there was a lot of rules about you don't want them to touch people,
right.
you want them to detect from a distance, all these different things. And Harold Little was the one who put me on the very first working group.
Yeah.
And uh, and for me, real quick, what got me onto the vaporwake side is the same thing. Uh, I just kind of started reviewing vaporwake, going through the different internet videos to get a better idea what vaporwake was, and then at home, uh, as I was put on the pilot, and I was just basically a trainer running whatever the bosses wanted to set up, but
Right.
it never nothing really kind of fit, and so I'd come home thinking about what I was watching during our little pilots.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I got a mal here. Let me pull some double bass out and let me run some training with ideas I have. And because the more I watched Vaporwake, the more I thought it was nothing more than trailing. And so it was my mal. His name was Apache, and then my mom's Chihuahuas.
Hmm.
Uh, the Chihuahuas gave me the first hint on what I was supposed to do, and that was my mom made some enchiladas, beans, and rice, and I was walking through the house to go eat into the living room from the kitchen, and I noticed they were air scenting behind me and following me, and then that's when I realized, man, I can actually lay a trail with this food. And so I started laying a trail throughout the room and hiding it, and then watching them work an indoor trail. So the
Right.
Chihuahuas are the ones that showed me the concept of how to set up an indoor trail. Apache was the one who showed me the concepts of how to set up an outdoor trail.
Right.
And then from there, I was able to talk with Tim Dawson and Greg Fisher, and then we started the beginnings of the passenger screening program.
Right.
On the training side, we didn't have a lot of because you're a trainer, you have a little bit more skill set, so we didn't have names for some of the things that we were doing.
Right.
We just did it, and it felt right. And and that was the problem about just being on the trainer side
Right.
was you didn't understand what the instructor went through, and you
Right.
didn't understand uh, what did the instructor have to adjust to to make it more clear for the handler.
Right.
And so when you guys came, that was that transition for me to go, okay, I've only been looking at this from the dog perspective, and I've only been looking at this from the trainer's skill set slash ability to manipulate the leash.
Right.
And so when you guys came, the biggest difference for me was um, was the adjustments y'all made towards teaching, uh, as far as coming up with new commands and step processes for the student to follow in order for them to uh, practice through repetition and learn the task.
Right.
Um, and then, of course, we had to figure out uh, the best method to use the open queue system,
Yeah.
which came came about. We ended up doing the choke point and the traverse
Right.
in there. Uh, we still use the original basic concept of vaporweight, the choke points and the traverse and the terminal search, uh, but you had to bring that and fit it into the box in front of the checkpoint.
Right.
And so for me, I think that was a biggest takeaway was having an eye-opening experience on why the instructors had to teach the way they taught,
Right.
and why they had to how they had to communicate to the student to make
Right.
it
I
easier.
mean, yeah, you're taking and there's a huge difference, right, of trainers training dogs, and like you said, not really a name for it. We just do it, but then we have to take that on the instructor side and relay that to that student a certain way as an educational piece. So it has to have a name, it has to have a method, and we have to have a process. But yeah, that's exactly what happened, right? We took some older processes, some older methods, and we developed it into what we thought uh, gave that dog team the best opportunity to find an explosive odor in that transportation environment, right? So,
Yeah, and I think Pat, he just liked to come up with new things that I hadn't heard about, and then I'd have to go research it, and he gets a kick out of that.
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah, for sure. Pat definitely, I definitely want to interview Pat at some point. I don't know if he'll give me one. Pat's a quiet professional, and that's okay. I know his story and I know it well. I just wish he'd let me share it with everybody else. Um, but it was a turning point in the program, right? Because not only was this a new concept, this is a new concept that we somewhat proved on a 9 month period, right? Because now instead of a student showing up, getting a trained dog and ready to start class, now the student was showing up and participating in the training of that dog. And if you remember correctly, we had two, uh, that initial class, they were assigned two dogs in the beginning. And at some point, we made a decision, okay, this dog suits you better. Let's continue through the course, right? Um, yeah, what an amazing opportunity for them to learn how to train their own dog, learn what drives this dog, learn from some of the best I consider. The instructors that were on that course, every one of them legends, every one of them amazing trainers, instructors, and still doing great things to this day. But fast forward a little bit with everything changes all the time, right? We have to change based off of not only concepts, but also of policy, right? So whatever policy is, whatever that has been approved on a big scale level for these airports and how they utilize these dogs, um, I know from there, and I'll back up just a little bit. And what I really appreciated about you was I was very much a rookie to a trail. I had never done one. Matter of fact, I remember you laughing at me the first time we did trail. I could scout, right? I knew how to scout, but trailing was definitely something that was not strong with me. But I always appreciated your patience and how you broke it down for me and how we went from very simple to complex. So by the time we actually got students, I was comfortable. I was comfortable with basic trails. Um, and it's funny, the thing I was most uncomfortable with instructing now is the biggest thing I push, right? It's like that's what I push, and I push hard for it because I know the importance of how it brings that dog back to that basic concept of I don't have to see somebody to know that I need to follow odor, right?
yes,
I'm going to follow odor no matter what, whether it's on somebody, they're moving, they're stopped, doesn't matter whether I see them or not. And I think it's amazing that people get away from that, from doing that on a regular basis to keep building that dog and building that confidence. So, yeah, man. So we get through that, and now everything's changed at CTC. Now it's cradle to grave, right? That was the
yes.
basically the initiation of cradle to grave. So what happens with Ruben after we get through that first initial OQC course? Where'd you go?
So for me at CTC, um, I never really made much time on the instructor side. I was always pulled for different projects. whether it be research or it would be uh, to problem solve dogs that maybe shouldn't have been eliminated, uh, or I was working on things with TSU, uh, updating SOPs and uh, training procedure.
Yeah.
Um, I, I, I basically I could say they were using my strengths uh,
Yep.
in other areas, uh, and of course I was still doing the your traveling out to your different airports. Um, uh, and then, of course, I ended up going in the direction of supervisor. And so on a training concept with the students, I didn't really see it as much. Um, I did see it more through assisting instructors on my teams. Um, but Cradle to Grave was a is a good concept in the idea that it's going to give the handler a little bit more experience than your basic handler going through a course with a dog that's already finished.
Right.
Um, does it make them a trainer? Not necessarily, but it does definitely give them exposure to, okay, this dog had this problem at the school. How
Yeah.
did we overcome that problem?
Right.
What did we do to come up with that? What kind of brainstorming did we do? What did we try?
Yeah.
It gives them a better understanding of what this is a training deficiency. This is a corrective action.
Right.
Versus going out to the field and trying to figure it out there. They got their initial exposure at the schoolhouse, and then when they go to their operational location, now as they're talking to their CTC or sorry, CTI, uh, there's a little bit better communication between the CTI and the handler
Yeah.
about deficiencies, corrective actions. Why is this important? Why do you need to make sure this is annotated in your records? And of course, students are students. Some are better at it than others,
Yep.
depending on the exposure, or maybe they just had a good dog and didn't run into as much.
Yeah, and
Um,
that's that problem solving, the ability to learn how to problem solve, I think that carries, to any situation they run into. And then I know from there, you promoted up, and then probably like me, man, once you get out of the realm of getting your hands on dogs and people and students on a daily basis, and you get into those supervisor or manager roles, it starts taking a little bit of a different turn. It did for me at least. Because I feel like I know you enough to know that you'd rather have a leash in your hand than your fingers on a keyboard. Um, and so now, same as me, that opportunity came to retire out of federal service. And I think we both jumped on that as quickly as we could. I just was different point in my life where I kind of want to do what you do. I want to go do my own thing. I started this channel as a hobby to honor trailblazers and legends and really just tell people's canine story. And I love your story, man, all the way back from 1989 all the way till now. But what are you doing now? Since retirement came, what's the plan for Ruben now?
so the early retirement wasn't really a plan. Um, uh, I moved into the supervisory positions uh, with the hope of maybe having the ability to make change.
Yeah,
Uh,
sir.
but as an individual, you can make small changes.
Yeah.
But when you have a program as large as TSA
Mhm.
and you have as many different people at the table or groups at the table, uh, and some are hitting perfect 100% the mission,
Yeah.
and others may be hitting personal agendas.
Yeah.
Um, uh, but what I found is the end of the day, the program is going to be the program,
Yeah.
and we're all replaceable.
Yeah.
And no matter how much of a footprint you made while you're there, as soon as you leave, somebody else is ready to step up.
Amen to
And
that, man. My phone
and
stopped ringing 2 weeks after I retired. That phone, I said, man, I thought I had a lot of friends.
yeah,
But I didn't. I had a lot of people that needed something from me in that headquarters position. But yeah, please
yeah,
continue. Yeah.
and and so and that's a good thing because like there's a lot of young generation. uh, what I call young canine at CTC that they're just now getting their feet wet. They're learning the program,
Yeah.
uh, but they already have the talent and the intelligence,
Oh yeah.
and and I think the newer generation canine, uh, they're the ones that truly are passionate about what they do.
Yeah.
They impress me.
Oh
And the
yeah.
reason why I say that is because I look at my generation, I look at the generations behind me, and most of us back then, when you left the military, or you left your federal position, uh, maybe you pursued something else, or maybe you opened up a dog business, and you're training police dogs for people. Maybe you sold some hats and some company shirts.
Right.
Uh, and then the next generation came in, and they kind of followed suit. Well, the new generation canine out there, these guys are opening up dog training businesses. Board and train is going really well for a lot of them.
Right.
They've combined their businesses to where they don't just train police dogs; they do board and train.
Right.
They do that. They do seminars. They do workshops.
Yeah.
Um, they do 3D prints to make training equipment. They sell
Yeah.
shirts.
They are
Like
definitely entrepreneurs, man. You're 100% right.
it,
And you're gonna like this because I have some of that generation coming on for an interview at the end of this month, Josh and Rachel.
yep,
And they're trailblazing, man. They're trailblazing.
yes.
Well,
Um,
go ahead, man. Sorry.
yeah. So for me, it's pretty amazing to watch that.
Yeah.
Uh, myself, I'm starting a business. I'm gonna call it a tiny business at the minute. For the moment, I don't really think it's a small business yet.
Yeah.
But basically, I call it Underdog Detection Services. And like I said, my focus has always been detection.
Yeah.
While I was in the military or while I was working for TSA, uh, I've always helped pet owners, anybody that had a detection dog problem, and by chance somebody passed my name to them
Yeah.
through word of mouth.
Like we said earlier, you probably have 100 dog training companies around the San Antonio area. And just recently I watched as that terrible flood happened near San Antonio out on the river. But I know for a fact that at least 7, 8 people I know with different companies, man, they were out there conducting search and rescue operations on nonstop. And it tells you at the end of the day, it's not about the dollar, always. It's sometimes it's about the mission of helping people and being a strong community. And that's one thing I always look back on is that my community is always strong, man. My networking has always been strong. There's probably 50 people throughout the United States that, and I'm sure you have the same. We could reach out to tomorrow and say, hey, I need some advice on canine operations or training, and they're gonna give it to us freely. It's not gonna be a big issue. Um, and everywhere I go, no matter if it's federal, DOD, civilian, they know you, man. They know Ruben Pena. They've heard of you. You've touched their lives in some way. And I'll tell you, in my last 3 years in service, in federal service, I worked for headquarters, as you know, and quite a bit of traveling around the country, different events, Super Bowls, Formula Ones, anything that was a Seer One, I was a part of. And the impact that you have had on the field is just amazing. And I think it's your approach, Ruben. I think it's really how you talk to people, which is so valuable that people are able to open up to you and listen to you because you make sense in what you say. It's not just do this because I said. It's do this because it works, and then let me show you how it works, and then let me help you make it work for you. And then let me follow up on you. So many times where I know personally that you've been sent out on problem solving missions, uh, and still to this day, those handlers have contact with you. They're still talking to you about those things. So it just says a lot about your character. It says a lot about your motivation, your drive, and what you've put into the canine community for the last 30 something, 36 years, plus whatever's coming next, right? So I'm so happy for you, man. You look so happy. Um, I'm glad that you're able to kind of just do your own thing now, and that's important. It's important in life to do what you love, And then it's really important in life to do it your way, right? Um, a lot of people don't get that opportunity. They get stuck in that rut, and let's just get through this and let me collect my pension and move on. But you're not like that. You've never been like that. So I've always appreciated your friendship, man. It is definitely an honor for me to interview you. I've been waiting. We've been rescheduling a couple of times to try to get this done. But I want to leave you with this, and then I'll give you the last words, man. You are definitely a shining star in this K9 community. I hope you continue to just do great things and touch people the way you have over the years. Uh, I consider you a good friend of mine. I hope to see you soon. I plan on visiting Paul, in the near future. So I hope I can sit down and spend some time with you. I know you're always busy. You always got a lot of stuff going on, dog wise, but thank you again, and God bless you, man. I pray for you. I pray for you all the time. I hope that everything you reach for, you gain, man. I'll give you the last words.
All right. I appreciate it, and thank you for the opportunity. Um, like I said, I'm moving forward with underdog detection services uh, with the intent only to focus on detection.
Yeah,
Um, Sometimes that leads into behavioral work and things like that. Uh, but detection has been my only passion since I was 26.
yeah,
Um, and and for me, I retired from the federal system. I retired from the normal things of, hey, you gotta wake up, go to work, and strive for the retirement and all that stuff. Uh, I decided time over money.
yeah.
That's why I took the early retirement. I call it the loose dog retirement because I probably should have stayed till full retirement according
Yeah,
to the normals of society.
yeah.
Uh, but the gate was open, so I ran.
Loose
And
dog. Yeah,
and like I said, there's uh, I feel I did what I could for the canine working dog world in the air in the private sector, the military, and for the federal system. But I also feel that sometimes it's as you get older, it's good for you to move when you can, so you can pursue things on your own terms, your own pace,
yes,
and
sir.
let that new generation that's hungry and ready to step up
Yeah,
allow them the opportunity to step up earlier than normal.
yeah,
Um, uh, Sometimes it's good to know when it's time to step down and give other people that opportunity. Um, and then the last thing I'm gonna say, as far as detection goes, um, out there, I think my biggest thing I want to push is in the next 5 years, because I think that's about what I have for working dog time, and then I'm just gonna call it Forrest
that's
Gump's done and I'm
that's
good
the
to go.
last gas in the tank, huh?
Yes. But like I said, I thank you,
Yes,
appreciate
sir.
it,
Of course.
and you take care, be safe, and good luck in your endeavors.
All right, Ruben. I appreciate you, man. And I'm telling any of you out there, if you ever get the opportunity to sit down and or attend any workshops that Ruben's going to be a part of in the future, clear your calendar and go. I know I will. All right, brother. God bless you. Take care and thanks again, Ruben.
Thank you, sir.